So another fine example of not paying attention is not knowing how the tools work. If we run social media, we really need to understand how they work. So let's look at this. I was studying Check-into-Cash's social media for a while earlier this year, and I came across this post. And granted, this post, because it starts with a username, a real username, it doesn't go out to their entire list of followers, right? But I was curious. I saw this, "We love our employees," and I was really curious. Well, what led to that? Let's see what led to that. It was a conversation. Chief Rodriguez is referring to a friend of his that says, "Jalen's lucky, he works at Fusebox. It's like working at Zoomies. They just chill all day," which sounds fantastic. But then his friend writes back and says, "N-word, I don't work at Fusebox, ha ha." And then he writes, "Oh, where do you work? Checking a cash, lol." And then the requisite 3 days later, they write, "We love our employees." So I don't want to criticize Chief Rodriguez or Johnny Bravo from communicating this way. I don't care how two people communicate with each other. If they're comfortable with it, then great. Use whatever words you want, right? However, as someone managing the social media, I would want to make sure that I don't highlight that for all of my audience if I think it might be inappropriate to some of them, and some people might take issue with that. They might take issue thinking that they're walking into a branch, working with someone who is going to be the type of person that might communicate with them in that way. So I, as the social media manager, am not going to put that on display in the page. Again, example of not paying attention, not knowing how things work. So final example, I was kind of on the fence about whether or not I should include this one because it's specific to GoDaddy. I mean, not in general, but in this case it is. So Name.com is a competitor of ours. They do some funny stuff in social media, and I don't mean to criticize that. But this particular example, I guess there's a common hashtag. Hashtag, "what makes me mad," is when I found out my friends are still using GoDaddy. Now, GoDaddy is the #1 brand in its industry. We're the biggest of, pretty much all of the different services that we offer. And there's a number of reasons why. That's not important, but we are. We have a big target, right? And that's fine. People are going to take jabs at us sometimes. But what this does is disparaging your competition, it brings you down a notch. There's this whole idea of be the best man out there. Don't bring yourself to their level. They're disparaging the competition, and the result can be negative. It can look something like this. Someone who's perhaps a friend of ours says, "Well, not your friend then. They're a fan of GoDaddy." And we have complementary services. Maybe Name.com customers are also GoDaddy customers. I mean, I guarantee they are sometimes. And it can backfire like this. But more importantly, there was a time when, this is actually recent, just a few months ago, where a bunch of hosting companies were having problems. A lot of sites were down and stuff. And so people would write, "Hey, hosting company A, why is my site down? I'm thinking about going to @GoDaddy now." And so we see that it's directed right to us. So we might try to poach them, like some of us thought Rio should do, right? Might try to poach them and say, "Hey, that'd be awesome. We can move your site over here in half an hour. Come on over. We'll get you set up," right? But I didn't want to do that. I don't want to say to the world that I'm just trying to take people's customer and I'm out for every little dollar. We could have put out some posts and said, "Hey, having problems with your hosting company because a bunch of them were having problems? You should come to GoDaddy. Here's a discount," right? But it's petty, right? It doesn't show that you're bigger than that. It doesn't show that you care about the customer. It shows that you care about the customer's wallet. And so instead what we did, and this was not universally accepted within the company, but the person who runs social media customer service was more along the lines of, "Hey, you know what? We see a lot of people having this trouble right now. We know they're working on it. Try not to be so tough on them." And we actually got some positive feedback about that sort of response. Some positive feedback that say, "Hey, that's a great response." And not everybody saw that. It was directed to very specific people, right? But that was over the course of the day as the other companies were all having this problem that GoDaddy was not having simultaneously. We were just nice. We were just showing that, hey, everybody's a customer of everybody. We just want your site to be up. I don't care if you're with us or with somebody else. We just care about people being on the internet. And I didn't expressly say that, but that was sort of the message that came out of it. Showing that we just care about people, not the $3 I could have made off of somebody by moving them over, and then maybe the next week they move to somebody else because we do something they don't like.